start with that one.
The Royal Blue Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Agenda Podcast, a podcast where you, the listeners, send in the questions and you, the listeners, set the agenda. I'm Ian Kroll and I'm joined by Connor O'Neill. Connor, how you doing? Much better, I hope, after an Everton win against West Ham United.
Absolutely, it was. It's been a long time coming, hasn't it? Where you've had that spring in your step coming out of Goodison Park and being able to watch match today on a Saturday night, and looking forward to reading the papers and what's being said. So, yeah, if you can't be happy now, you're never going to be happy, are you?
Absolutely. So we've got a whole host of questions submitted by Everton fans via the Royal Blue Facebook group. First one, Connor, I'm gonna go out on a limb. I'm gonna put this on you. Last week you said the best option was for Everton to sack Marco Silva. So the first question we've got down, submitted by Carl Oscar Lieberg, is it still Silva out?
Well, obviously I was one of many who had to eat the words on a Saturday as soon as we all left Goodison Park, because the performance that Marco Silva's side produced was simply superb from start to finish. It was one that I didn't really see coming, if I'm being honest. I think I've been quick to criticise him, and as I say, I did call for his head during the international break. But you got to give credit where credit's due. We were superb, and the response he got from them lads was first class, and it was certainly something that I didn't imagine that would come true. And you've got to give Silva credit, but for me ultimately, although it's not Silva out as strongly as it was during the international break, the next two games are still massive for Everton Football Club. I mean, you've got to make that type of performance on Saturday the norm, not the exception. We can't just pull one out the bag because Silva was under pressure and people were questioning some of the players, their attitude and the commitment. We've got to make that type of performance the norm, not the exception, as I say. And that starts on Saturday, Brighton, because we've ultimately got to start picking points on the road. Our away form is nothing short of dreadful. So we've got to carry on now. Going into then the biggest game I think so far this season in the Watford Carabao Cup tie. I know people might think, oh well, that's a bit naive, or a bit sad that you're saying something like that so early on in the season. But the Carabao Cup is a massive opportunity for everyone to collect some silverware. You couldn't have wished for a better draw really than Watford at home. You look at the draw, the way it's panned out in the other games. Liverpool playing Liverpool playing Arsenal, Chelsea playing Manchester United. There's just going to be some big teams. Aston Villa play Wolves. There's some big teams going to get to the competition. It's a massive chance. So while it's still not Silva out, he's completely not free of pressure in my opinion, because the next two games are big, they are important, and he's got to build on what the foundations that he laid on Saturday.
And he's probably bought himself some time, really, hasn't he?
Yeah, he has. But like I say, if we go to Brighton and we get comfortably beaten our away day woes continue, then that pressure's just going to ramp back up to what it was during the international break, because it'll be a thing of, well, that performance was just an exception, really, not we're going back to our normal ways.
Okay. We've got a whole host of questions from Everton fans who submitted via the group. Some questions that are covered on the same thing, but we will read them out because obviously you've taken time to submit them in. So you've got a question for me?
Yeah, after Saturday's performance from the front four, especially the pace mobility, is Gylfi now better using impact substitute?
And that one's from?
That one's from Matthew Barry, who's
Matthew
a regular.
Barry. He is?
Who's from the Gallagher Street.
Shout out to Matthew Barry.
And regular listener.
It's so ironic, isn't it, that Everton go and have the best performance of the season without Gylfi Sigurdsson, and then Marco Silva brings him on to shore up the game, and he goes and scores a worldie like that. I don't think anyone's ever suggested that Gylfi Sigurdsson is not a good footballer. We've said it time and again that he slows the play down. He's a bit too static to be a number 10. In terms of where his long-term future lies, I think it probably is away from the club, or certainly not in this team. In terms of his short-term future, I can definitely see him being an impact substitution. Whether he's going to like that, obviously, that he's not going to like that. Obviously, he's obviously going to want to play football matches, and then he's going to have the argument, well, I can come on the football pitch and score goals like that. So it's a tough one, but I just think the evidence is there for all to see that the front four, especially, were just a lot more mobile. The pace, the speed, the flexibility of them interchanging, it was such a joy to watch, and that was the most important thing for me coming out of that game, because we could have beat West Ham on Saturday with a scrappy 1-0 win, and may not have been deserved, and you're still, all right, you would have been happy with the win, but the most pleasing thing for me was the performance, and we got both, and it's very rare that Everton get both. And again, I just go back to how ironic it was that we had our best performance of the season, but Gylfi Sigurdsson then goes and scores a worldie. I think the answer to that is short term, Sigurdsson will definitely continue to play in the team, but I think it's the evidence is there for all to see who our best front four are.
I think just on that though as well, and no one's actually pointed this out, but something that certainly sprung to my mind on Sunday when I was thinking about back in the game is Richarlison up top.
Yeah.
Is that, in that front four, Richarlison was the main man leading the line.
Yeah.
Do you think it's time we revisited that?
Yeah, I think so. I think
we had a bit of success last year when Marco
with him being up top.
Up to play him as the lone forward man. It then obviously all kind of went a bit sour and he kind of lost that bit of fizz he had when he was up front. But is that the way to go now? Is Calvert-Lewin and Moise Keane going to play second and potentially third fiddle to Richarlison? I
think Richarlison, I remember a couple of months back on Sky Sports that Tim Cahill described Richarlison as an out-and-out forward. Now, a lot of people suggest that he isn't that type of player. He obviously started his Everton career, on the left. He's been moved up top, and I think Silva played him wide right one time, didn't he? And he played very well. Coleman and him formed a decent partnership, and it just seemed to run with that. But as time's gone on, you can tell that things don't go his way. He sulks, but when he's up front, he's always got the chance of scoring a goal. And I think at this moment in time, again, you got to base it on the performance against Saturday. It's early days, but Richarlison is probably the most effective person to play up front for Everton if Silva wants to carry on playing that way. We know Dominic Calvert-Lewin can score goals. We know Moise Keane's full of potential, and hopefully, in the coming weeks he'll find his feet. But at the minute, I think Richarlison probably has to be, the spearhead of that attack. Absolutely. Okay, next question. I'll read it out for Connor, and Connor can give it an answer. Michael Blakely: when will we score from a corner? Can we get someone standing in front of the goal? It might help. We did score from a corner, but it was disallowed.
It was, yeah. which has never been disallowed. I don't think. I know Dermot Gallagher on Sky Sports' little ref watch segment was quick to point out.
Did he say it wasn't?
How good officiating it was. Because
what was the reason? I can't.
Because Andre Gomes blocked the
right. I knew that's what it was.
But I think if you look back to the Burnley game when we played Burnley away, Burnley set up to block our man at the back post, and they scored off that. Schneiderlin was blocked in by two Burnley players. So for me, it's it's a muchness, and I thought we were very, very hard done to on Saturday. There.
No, absolutely.
I think just touched on that. The game swayed on two decisions. What could have cost us that goal, and also the corner that West Ham were given, which was never a corner, and if anything should have been a foul on Sidibe. And yet they nearly go and score. Off that.
It was disgraceful, wasn't it?
I know we got over the line and we won 2-0, and everyone kind of forgets about that, but there could have been two major talking points there of the game. So I think in terms of when we were scored from a corner, we did look like we'd improved on Saturday, like we say, we should have. And I think the second part of the question is one for Marco Silva, not for me, because he's the man who sets the team up on set pieces, and it's up to him what way is best to approach it.
I mean, it's nice scoring goals like we did on Saturday, nice bit of team play for the Bernard goal and a bit of skill. And obviously, again, we mentioned Sigurdsson's worldie, but I think obviously all the top teams in world football score a lot of goals from set pieces, don't they? And that's something that we do lack in.
Well, I think that the big thing for me is that we've not utilised Jerry Mina's height and ability in the air.
He's desperate to score, though, isn't he?
What we should have done, I think, most teams who have a centre forward or a centre back, or even a centre midfielder who have the size of Yerry Mina, utilise it to their own strengths. And if anything, I think we've just neglected it. I think, that's why I think it was so promising and pleasing to see on Saturday that we did put a corner in. It looked like we kind of had a routine set up for Mina to go and attack the ball, and hopefully, it could be the start now of seeing a bit more progression from our set pieces.
Okay, next question. You got one for me?
Anthony Michael Knowles. Will Coleman get back in?
Miss one out there. Amy Armstrong.
Amy Armstrong. How do you think Everton can dominate games away from home? We played well against West Ham, but I've never seen us play anywhere near as offensively on the road. Who do you think is that we can do that?
Okay, thanks for your question, Amy. I think obviously our away form is abysmal, isn't it? At the minute, it's it's non-existent. So we've got to start putting that right first and foremost with Brighton on Saturday. I've always said that I feel Everton's strengths with this current group of players and this current team lie with pace and counter-attacking football. I don't think you're ever really going to dominate possession in a Premier League football game unless you've got, Manchester City's players. It just doesn't happen. So I feel like Silva should form some sort of counter-attacking display away from home. We've got a solid setup in defence now. You can clearly see, obviously, if Mina's going to be fit, that will have Mina, Keane and Sidibe and Dean as the back four. I think that is definitely going to be a positive, and we've got the foundations there for the midfield, and then the front four, keeping them fit will speak for itself. I think pace, power, getting the ball forward early, not necessarily into feet, but in behind, even over the top for the likes of Richarlison, Walcott, Bernard to run onto, and then you've got the likes of Alex Iwobi scooping up anything that is left over. I think that's got to be the way forward, regardless of whether it's Brighton or Manchester City away. We're never going to dominate possession. We haven't got the players to do that. They're not confident enough. I don't think they've got the quality to do it. But in spurts and moments in football games, you can kill opposition within a matter of 10 to 15 seconds and score some really good goals. That's got to be the way forward for me.
I think obviously the away day troubles have stemmed for a long time, haven't they?
Absolutely,
I think as much as, we talk about style of play and stuff like that, I think psychologically we've got a big barrier to get over. I think we need to kind of dog out a 1-0 win away from home where, we spend the last 20 minutes back against the wall and we've dug deep and kind of got on the other side because we just don't see enough. We haven't seen enough of that from the last, probably 5 years on the road from Everton. Yeah. To really say, this is a team that knows how to win away from home. This is a team who knows how to win ugly almost. Yeah. But I think looking at the next question now, obviously, Anthony Michael knows us. Will Coleman get back in after Jibril Sidibe's impressive first Premier League performance on Saturday? Your thoughts on that one?
Coleman, I think he still has a part to play in Everton's season. How long that will last for, I don't know. I think we all love Seamus Coleman. We've all called for him to be the captain in the past. I think it's quite clear that Sidibe on Saturday offered something a little bit different and possibly a little bit more quality, both in defence and attack. Not knocking Seamus Coleman one bit. I think he still has a part to play, like I've said, but don't want to get ahead of ourselves with Sidibe. It's only his second game, is it? He played in the League Cup. Third, is it? That was the first time I've seen him properly, and I was very, very impressed. And if Coleman gets back in the team ahead of Sidibe on Saturday, I'd be very disappointed in Marco Silva's decision making. Obviously, anything could change. Sidibe could pick up an injury or anything, so that something could happen. But for me, moving forward, Sidibe gets back in the team. But that's what you want, isn't it? Competition for places. If Coleman thinks, I've lost my place here, then surely he's gonna, start performing a lot better, and it only benefits the team. Again, it probably goes back to the Matthew Barry question. Would he be best used as an impact substitute? For a player who can make an impact, I think maybe the last 15, 20 minutes of a game, in an attacking sense, I think he could definitely do that if we're struggling for, to break the deadlock in some games. Definitely, without a doubt.
I think for me, the big thing with Coleman on Saturday, it was almost shades of the Luca Dean, Leighton Baines moment of last season where, I think Baines picked up an unfortunate knock and Luca Dean was almost handed his chance via default. Yeah. And took it with both hands. And
that's what happens in football, though, doesn't it?
And I think, on Saturday we kind of maybe seen that a little bit with Coleman in the sense that, he was sent off against Burnley. So the base handed his chance almost via default. And then, he produces a performance that, could potentially lead to Seamus having a spell on the sidelines. And like I say, that's just football, isn't it? I mean, I think the jury's been out on Coleman for a couple of years now. I know what you say about we call for him to be captain and stuff like that, but I do think there has been a jury over the last couple of, say last 18 months in terms of, is he good enough to now, play full-back for Everton? I don't think he's ever had really the competition. I know John Joe Kenny's doing really well in the Bundesliga right now with Schalke, but I don't think Kenny ever done enough in the Premier League games to warrant, whereas now Sidibe clearly has. And I think it'll be really interesting on come 2 o'clock on Saturday to see which way Marco Silva goes, whether he puts his captain back in or whether he sticks with the same team that picked up 3 pressure points against West Ham.
Yeah, absolutely. Next question from Martin Jameson. This one's away from the football pitch. It's an interesting question. Any thoughts about whether Mr. Usmanov might team up with Mr. Mashiri to bring really big money into the club, or has that idea gone cold? Will his involvement stop with the USM Finch Farm? What do you think on that?
I don't think anyone knows. I think there's only 2 men who know the answer, isn't he? That's Mr. Usmanov, Mr. Mashiri. I think there's been so much tittle-tattle and rumour and wild speculation that, you can't believe anything that you potentially read on this issue now because, the speculation is so far and probably so wide the mark in many senses. But, it did at one point it did look promising when, Mr. Usmanov got involved with, the sponsorship of Finch Farm and stuff like that. It does appear to have gone, cold, and it was just a commercial deal. But I think, in terms of...
Mashiri just might want to be by himself anyway.
Yeah, exactly. You don't know. These are things we don't know. And to not knock Martin's question, but I don't think, honestly, we can answer it because I don't think... We don't know what Mr. Usmanov or Mr. Mashiri are thinking to. It's...
No, exactly, yeah.
It's as I say, it's such a minefield in terms of the tittle-tattle and, I think we've seen over the last certainly 2 years, people putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with 5 in terms of the Usmanov Mashiri connection, etc. So I don't think we can really gauge anything from it, can we? Except he just wants to training ground, but I think that's probably as much as it probably will be.
Yeah, I mean, from my opinion, and to try and answer that, if it's going to happen, if anything whatsoever, investment or some sort of takeover, it's largely, I believe, going to be down to what happens with the stadium. Because, if it's going to happen, regardless of Usmanov coming in, Usmanov's probably not going to want to come in now and spend a lot of money on a stadium when it can be already paid for. And then, from his point of view, he would then reap the benefits of a brand new state-of-the-art stadium on the
I think just
waterfront.
on that though, I think the big money kind of aspect of it. This is a football club that has spent big money. It's not. It's not a football club that is
wasted a lot of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not hand-to-mouth existence like we've known before or we've seen before. This is. I think it was the team against Sheffield United cost over £300 million.
Yeah.
You look at the money we've spent on. A lot of the players who started. The weekend. It's big money. It's real big money. So we have invested money. There's been money spent. It's just not being spent in a, as you say there, it's being wasted. It's not being spent in a sensible manner. And, I don't think it's a case of Mashiri's not spent any money. He has spent money. We've just not, we've got ultimately a 35 million potentially centre forward on the bench who can't get it over. Richarlison's not a real winger. So there has been money spent. It's just not being spent the right way and where needed most.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Carl Bloxon. Next question is Carl, New Zealand Carl.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, no question about Chris Wood this week, but go ahead, go for it.
That is twice that we have had a large change in performance after an international break. We are yet to see if we continue this season, but do you have any ideas what goes on behind the scenes for this to happen when most of the team is away on international duty?
The answer is no. Got no idea what goes on behind the scenes, to be honest. I think that there's a lot being said, isn't there, about this international break and like what any changes that have been made. But if I remember rightly, a lot of people refer back to the break that we had for the Cardiff. Before Cardiff, that wasn't an international break, was it? That was
enforced because we were so bad at the time.
We were crap, yeah. We weren't in any cup competition whatsoever. So I think, if I remember rightly, it was like 17-day break. So Silva at that time had a chance to almost do a mini pre-season and work with the players. You would have thought. I'm sure he gave them a couple of days off as well. But this time, it has actually been an international break, and I don't know what, if any, time he's had to play with the players, because we have a lot of internationals, and I don't know, but certainly can say that we've come back from an international break. The players, obviously, a completely different team. Whether that's attitude, I think it is, but obviously a lot of it's down to the personnel that was picked on Saturday playing in the right positions. You only have to look at the likes of some of the teams that were blowing other teams away. They were mentioned, obviously Liverpool, just winning every single game, and then they come up against a Man United team who were struggling beforehand, and then they had a good performance against Liverpool, whereas Liverpool didn't have a good performance. So is the international break, it can work both ways, can't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? If you got momentum in and suddenly you stop dead because your players go away, then it obviously doesn't help. But yeah, sorry Carl, I don't know what goes on behind the scenes, but I know that I was glad for this international break, and it certainly seemed to rejuvenate certainly the fans and the players, and hopefully that we'll be able to continue some momentum on into the next couple of weeks. Michael Sullivan has said, Connor, who knew Theo Walcott had a twin brother? When did we sign him? Is that harsh on Theo?
Well, I know there's one man who
I've already spoke to Rob.
Mr. Rob Astle, who probably...
He said he's still crap.
I mean, he did nearly go score goal of the season on Saturday. If that would have went into Glasgow Street,
Felt sorry for him.
I think
he deserved
the place would have erupted, because it was some strike. It was incredible. It looked like Theo Walcott had just benefited from a little bit of time away, and a bit of time to
obviously he wasn't with England, was he?
Get himself together and almost probably give himself a kick up the backside, because we'd all spoken for long periods about getting him out the team and getting him out the starting lineup and getting him away from pretty much away from his position, because he'd been so poor.
Yeah.
And yet, he looked like he ripped the wards off that break, and he'd come back, a fresh.
Mm-hmm.
It was clear for me though that Marco Silva still thinks there's something there with Theo Walcott when he starts against Manchester City.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I was going to bring up.
And I know obviously people look past that because he was taken off after 47 seconds, wasn't he? But I look because that was a massive game for Silva. The reigning Premier League champions coming to Goodison, etc. And we all know how good City are.
Well, he was unable to make an impact through no fault of his own, wasn't he?
Exactly. But the fact that Silva put him in, clearly still sees something about him, and he clearly still, he's either working hard in training, or he's shown signs in training that he does have top form. And I think Walcott based on the weekend is warranted of another start this weekend.
Well, maybe the fact that he selected Walcott for City obviously went off after a matter of minutes. Maybe this performance has been weeks in the making anyway. Maybe Silva's been seeing it on the training pitch, and we just haven't seen it on the football pitch.
Possibly, yeah. I mean, you just don't know, do you, in football? This the crazy thing about football. Like you alluded to there. The expectation on Sunday was that Liverpool would rock up at Old Trafford and put convincingly 5 or 6 past night and play walking pace. It was far from it. Everton probably didn't expect Van Dijk would produce that type of performance. Certainly not from a Theo Walcott included. So football's a funny game, and I think Walcott, in my opinion, probably just benefits from a little time away. Get back to basics, and if he continues to play in that manner like he did on Saturday, then the shit will be his own for a long, long time.
Okay, next question is from Ashley Stewart.
Would you leave Richarlison at number 9 next week?
Yeah, I mean, I think Ashley, I've already answered that, haven't I? I think absolutely. Yeah. I don't think I would change any of that team as long as everyone's fit. Richarlison, definitely number 9 for the foreseeable future, definitely.
I think that links in to the next question we've got then, because Stephen Grady has asked first, captain, did Dean look like a skipper, or is it near to continue to look at when we hopefully can continue to recruit in January? And the second part of the question, which is probably more relevant to this, does Tom Davies keep his place if Delph's back fit this weekend?
Again, the team is exactly the same as long as everyone's fit. In terms of Dean as captain, I think he's, from what I saw on Saturday, he would be the type of captain to lead by example rather than be quite vocal. I don't know, I might be wrong, but we won the game, so certainly he had some sort of impact. I know a lot of people have questioned Dean over his defensive ability over the past couple of weeks. Going forward, I think he's still been real quality, just probably hasn't been able to show that as much because we haven't been doing much attacking. He definitely could be a consistent Everton captain. I've got no doubts about that. I think captain-wise, though, if Coleman's not going to be in the team as regularly as we might think now, other players who would probably look to, who are going to be more consistently in the team, would be like Andre Gomez. I think he just stands out above everyone else. Again, I don't know whether he'd be as vocal as other players we've had in the past, but I still think he could. He could. He's very vocal on Twitter. He does the famous rallying cry, but I think it's quite clear the ratio of 5 games this season. We've won 3, drawn 1 and only lost 1. When he's in the team, Everton perform better. And the West Ham game was the first time I felt he was actually 100% fit, and the impact he had was second to none. He certainly helped Davis, because Tom Davis was a completely different player. The confidence in him when he had the ball, it wasn't just panicking. It was really good. And so in terms of going back to the captain question, I think there's a lot of candidates for that. Silva's obviously picked Dean because he's probably one of the main vocal players in the team now. But obviously, it's a tough one. Obviously, Delph is very vocal. We've seen him in the past, haven't we? But I think it's all up for grabs. Everything is up for grabs at the minute, because no one's taking it. As much as Delph's been, solid, I don't think he's been fantastic. He's got injured. He was unlucky, and that gave the place to Tom Davis. But he could struggle to get back in the team against Brighton. But we've got games thick and fast coming up, cup games, so I wouldn't be surprised, as long as you're fit, Silva will chop and change, and we'll see a selection of captains over the next couple of weeks. But I think if Dean plays every week now, then he should be the captain. That don't chop it and change it like he did in the first couple of weeks of his reign.
I think then Callum Lapsley's question, which is next, I think we've answered pretty much in depth already. Playing a team as open as West Ham suits us all day long. Do we change formation or personnel against the team that may sit back like Brighton? Well, firstly, I don't think Brighton will sit back. I watched them against Spurs a couple of weeks ago when they comfortably beat Mauricio Pochettino's side 3-0.
Goal to winner.
And they were brilliant. They played on the front foot. They got forwards as fast as they could. From what I read as well, is that they've been pretty hard done to this season a couple of times. I think they've been unlucky not to get more points on the board than what they have. Their fans seem to be blown away by Graham Potter's approach. So I think, for me, I think the team stays as it is, as long as everyone's fit. The formation stays as it is, because I think Brighton will come up and have a go.
No, yeah, fair enough. That, like I said, I think I mentioned a couple of times, couldn't agree more. Ian Ferguson with the next question. Even with the best display of the season going into the game, still has the feeling, what happens if we don't score first? Because it's a good question, isn't it? What happens if we don't score first?
I mean, I was talking to Paul Wheelock and yourself last week about this before the game, and we both agreed the first 10-15 minutes were crucial, really, because if we would have went behind and we weren't playing very well, then the groans and the moments would have started, and people would have begun to get frustrated. I think the fact that they did start on the front foot, and they did kind of get themselves ahead in the game, was massive. And I think ultimately we can't look at if we would have went behind, because we didn't. We won the game 2-0. We were comfortable throughout. Yeah. I think it's easy in football to look at coulda, woulda, shouldas. I think if we're going to do that, you could look throughout the season and say, oh, if only we would have done this, if this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
I think ultimately we didn't fall behind. We worked hard. We battled hard, and we got our just reserves.
Absolutely. Last question then, Steve Hill. I mean, we've covered a little bit of this, but we'll read it out anyway. Steve Hill's asked, can we keep this up? Where does Delph fit in, and what does the future hold for Sigurdsson?
I think, can we keep this up? Only time will tell. Sakti will indicate that. We've been here before, haven't we? We've had false dawns. We've had one really good performance, and you think to yourself, this is it now, we'll kick on. And in 3 weeks, we've gone backwards to an alarming rate. Where does Delph fit in? Delph needs to get fit and stay fit first before we can even start contemplating where he fits in and where he comes in. I do like Delph. I have been impressed with Delph so far this season, the games he has played. I think he does show true leadership qualities. However, if you can't stay fit, then it's irrelevant, isn't it? Because you need to be on the pitch to have the biggest impact in terms of what's going on. What does the future hold for Sigurdsson? Well, I think he'll be on the bench, or he should be on the bench on Saturday, first and foremost, in the immediate.
Despite the worldie?
I think, I don't think you can knock the front four, the foundations that they laid on Saturday. Long term, I kind of do agree with you that maybe his long term future does lie away from the club. But I think at the minute, he'll be there for not the long term, but certainly
just till the end of the season at least.
Yeah, maybe another season after that. I think there won't be maybe a rush to get rid of him. And I also think they won't get anywhere near what they paid out for him to bring him in. So,
but he's going to be on a decent wage, so there's not going to be many clubs who I mean, certainly none of the top 6 will want to go for him, you would have thought.
No.
So there's not many clubs below Everton's stature who probably could afford his wage.
Exactly, and I think, ultimately, although Iwobi's at one good game in the 10, hasn't he? He could. I hope he doesn't, but he could go out and have a stinker on Saturday. And people will be calling for Sigurdsson to get his place back in the team. Like we've alluded to, football's a funny old game and strange things happen. So we can't count our chickens too much just after one good win and one good performance.
Absolutely. Okay, that is the end of the Agenda podcast. Thank you for listening. Thank you for submitting your questions. I've been Ian Kroll and I've been joined by Conor O'Neill. Thanks very much, Conor. We will be back next week at some point with the Agenda podcast. Thanks very much.
The Royal Blue Podcast.